Welcome to the Raw Knuckles podcast. Today's guest is a guy who made his name the hard way. Undrafted, undersized, but never outworked. He was solid on the blue line with the Habs, played a key role in one of the most memorable Canadiens playoff runs in recent memory. Mike Weaver, welcome to the show.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. Raw Knuckles. Hosted by Chris Nilan.
Nilan going ballistic. I love it. He's going to hit his own players. He's a madman. He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Bring them all out, Nilan, you freak.
It's going to be sick.
Good to have you, pal. Listen, you know, looking back at your history and growing up in Ontario, one of the things that kind of caught me was when you were drafted, but you were drafted in junior by Guelph. Mm-hmm. How do you make that decision not to go to Guelph and play major junior and stay tier 2 so you can maybe go off and play college hockey? Where did that come from?
Well, I actually played two years of tier 2, one of an underager year. So there was 5 of us that were underagers playing with the Thornhill Islanders. So it was something that, and then I went my regular year that would have been normally that, and then I got a full ride to Michigan State. So when I ended up getting drafted in the OHL, I already knew. The reason why we got drafted, because Mike York, who played in the NHL for a number of years, he ended up getting drafted 8th round, and I think I was the 7th. And the reason why we're so late is because we already told everybody that we were going to university.
Oh,
so
that explains it. Yeah.
So it was, well, the odds of me playing, like I was 5'9". I was told my whole entire career, should you be going forward? And that was back, when Philadelphia, right? The big boys, right?
Yeah.
Like that was just like, so I ended up going to school. I wanted to get my education. I got a telecommunication degree, got a minor in virtual reality, software development, web design. And it's funny, when I turned pro, I was going door to door for local businesses and designing their websites. So, Inside College Hockey, Inch, that was the second rendition was done by me.
Wow. Yeah. That is awesome. Not many guys do that. Certainly when they're involved in their careers, they don't look at doing something else while they're playing. They're just so focused on hockey. It's awesome that you had the wherewithal and the intelligence to do it. In the drive.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with guys don't want to jinx it, right? Like they want to focus. Okay, the whole year is focusing on that, and then if you think of something other than that, I think that they're kind of you almost pushes you to kind of post career, right? It's just like focus on the moment, and all. It's I don't know. With me, I never thought I would play, to be honest. I knew I was good enough, but to get that chance, Don Waddell, he ended up taking a chance on me. I remember going. So I went with Atlanta Thrashers. The farm team was the Orlando Solar Bears, right? The old IHL. And I remember
was Chelly gone by then?
Yeah.
Was he there? He was there the year before, I think. 2000. What? Chelly in Atlanta? Like his last year, I think.
Yeah. I know. Anyway. I know. Gord Murphy was his last year in Atlanta.
Yeah. Let me see. No. Geez, Chelly's last year. Sorry, Chelly's last year was 09.
Yeah.
09-10. Oh, what was I thinking? I thought it was 2000. He's still 2000. He still had another 10 years to play.
Yeah, but it was crazy. So I ended up going to Don Waddell said, he's just like, all you rookies, you guys are going to go down to the minors and you're going to learn how to be professionals. So it was kind of cool. And then we went down to the minors, and for the first 10 games, Jim Hughes was my assistant coach, right? His boys, 3 of them playing the NHL, pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Pete Horchuk was the head coach. And I remember being there the first 10 games, they didn't even play me. So I was in the stands, first 10 games, healthy scratch. And then I ended up going in. I played the rest of the season. And after the season, having a beer after we won the Turner Cup, the whole IHL, Jim Hughes is just like, he looked at me. He's just like, hey, Mike. He's just like, when I was told that we're getting a 5'9" defensive defenseman that couldn't score, he's just like,
what were we my head.
Exactly.
What do with this one?
I know. Right. So he ended up saying, but once we put you in, we couldn't take you out. So, and that's why I was probably the most valuable to the current team that I was at, because they saw what I really did.
So you say that. It's funny, Jim Hughes, when you bring him up, I had read somewhere that when Brian Burke was in Toronto, he hired him. So, because Hughes wanted to work up in Canada, he wanted his kids to develop in Canada in hockey, and they moved to Toronto. And that's where all them Hughes brothers developed, which is quite a story for sure. But, you know, when you say that, it's one thing, but for fans will wonder, well, what drove Mike Weaver to defy the odds? All the odds are against you when you size, all that, to carve out such a long career in the league, you know? Especially at a time when, listen, we see a lot smaller players today. I get it. But then there was a lot of large men in the league, and especially on the back end, on defense, you never saw really little defensemen until maybe, you know, the last, 5 to 7 years. You see a lot smaller guys.
Well, I'm going to tell you that my worst 30 seconds of my whole entire career was going against Philly. I thought it was a pretty good Philadelphia. When I went there, I'm like, I'm a pretty good hitter. So I ended up going and I think I tried to hit Brashear. Oh my God. I bounced off that guy. Like, oh my God. Like, we're like talking 260 on these little steel blades on the ice. Oh my God. Yeah. So like all these, like I got blown out like 3 times in that shift. I'm like, oh my God. I get back to the bench and I'm like, holy cow. I'm like, what am I going to do? And also I kind of refocused myself, but that was the worst. But I'm going to say one of the things, though, I ended up having a hockey school called Defense First. And I ended up going and I think the reason why I had such a long career is I was looking at my game tapes in order to figure out what I was doing on the ice. I remember my first year, we had a hockey school, and we had 2 people sign up. We lost $4,000. And back then was mailing right in the mail. So we had 2 people. So that's why I kind of went back to the drawing board. I'm like, well, what do I do best out there? And I'm like, I think the game. So I started going into what amazing Jim Hughes was teach. He taught influence, right? And I started looking at my game. I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. I influence the game. So based on your approach to that player, an opposition player is going to go away from you. They're going to go opposite of you. So I ended up looking at my game tapes. And I think the reason why I had such a long career was because I was able to have my hockey school in the summertime, and I was coming up with new drills of different ways of teaching it. So I got my head kind of into the repetitiveness of kind of what I was doing. So it prepared me. In July, I had my hockey school, so it prepared me for the whole entire season. And I'm going to say doing that, I was very big on watching game tape. I remember in Florida, one of the guys, I ended up arriving there, and I would always watch, they would have the iPads sitting on the seat, so you'd watch your game tapes. And one of the guys pulled me aside, and they pulled me in the room. They're like, Mike, like, you're making us look bad. I'm like, what? He's just like, you guys, you're watching game tapes all the time, and none of us yeah. And I'm like, well, I don't care about you guys. I care about my career. So I'm going to go watch game tapes, and I'm going to go and improve. But it's crazy. They pulled me aside, like 2 guys.
Right. They're thinking you're trying to
show
get
them
the
up.
coach to look at you and say, "Look at this kid. He's really dedicated."
I know,
right?
and that was a really, like, obviously it's way more advanced now with it, but it was pretty cool. Like they would have 15 iPads just sitting right on your seat, and then
I hate fucking iPads.
Okay.
I hate them.
Oh my God, they would have VHS tapes for beta, I guess, for you, right?
Yeah, VHS. Imagine going out on the bench with that thing and a TV. Hey, I gotta watch how I just fucked up. Let me figure it out.
Oh my God.
But yeah, anyway, I just say it. I hate the iPads during a game. I think if you really need it, that the assistant coach could go over something with you real quick on the bench. But even then, if I was ever in a position to coach, I would listen. If you want to see it, you can see it between periods. Come in, and we'll look at it.
Yeah, like I was one of those players that you almost have to. You get back to the bench, right, and you got to go and kind of reflect, kind of analyze, right, and then amnesia, right, and it's just like you can't forget it. You can't, like, that's it. Maybe discuss it really quick with your partner, but then you got to forget about it because you got to move on. The game of hockey is just keeps on going, and if you start having that thing in the back of your mind, you screwed up.
You dwell on shit.
Yeah, you just got to move forward.
Yeah, there's no question. I agree with that. So, yeah, you go off to, and I got to ask you before we really get into your pro career and what you're doing now and all that, but, you know, we've seen what's happened to NCAA now, right? They can pay players. Guys can make money off their likeness, whatever. And they're going to pay players, I'm sure, to go south. Back when you went, obviously, to Michigan State, and a lot of Canadian kids certainly play junior. Would you, say you wanted to influence a young kid to go to college, how would you do that? Just say you were a recruiter and say, listen, here's the deal. You can play junior or you can play college. Why would you push a guy to go to college over junior? Oh, not push him, but make the case for it.
How about this? All hockey leads to adult hockey, right? So if you look at it that way, at some point you got to go and rely on whether it be education or what you bring to the table for post-career. Like there's only so many guys that could go and retire and they are able to have their drink with an umbrella in it every single day, 365 days a year. At some point, I'm going to say everybody will probably want to go and get a job. You don't want to be just sitting there with your feet up. No. So you're going to want to get involved in some shape or form. And there's only so many jobs within the hockey world. You're not going to be making the same amount of money that you were when you're playing. Like you make a certain amount of money, a lot of money, very, very early. But I have pensions with the NHL, but they don't. It started happening at 62, right? Yeah. So it's something
you can wait for that, right?
I know. So like you have to, you have now until 62 that you got to go and do something. So it's like there's only so many jobs. Like obviously the head coach, assistant coaches, they make some pretty good money. Agents, like if you get a pretty good name or get with a pretty good agency, you probably get some of that. But like scouts, stuff like that, or even skills instructors, they're not making a whole lot of money really. Other than that, right. It's very difficult, and that's one of the biggest things that I've found that, and I've talked to a lot of guys that retired, and a lot of the fans don't realize how much a big transition it is to post career. It's one of the toughest things that I had to go through, from your body kind of almost unraveling. Like you're working out your whole entire life, and then you're absolutely like massive. Your muscles are so ripped and everything, and then all of a sudden everything starts kind of relaxing a little bit. I had a little bit bad back for a little bit, like, and then having to transition to basically the real world. We were living in a dream, right? For that whole time, but then you're almost having to go and transition to the real world. It's very difficult. And it's tough. Like in hockey, if we go and the harder you push in hockey, the more things happen for the best.
Yeah.
But in the real world, they have HR departments here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, it's just
Yeah.
like, you can't do the same thing. So you have to transition yourself to actor. And like we talked about before, a lot of guys don't prepare for post career. That's one of the biggest things that, you know, it's not like you're a plumber and you could go to another job.
Yeah.
We're told that you're too old
Yeah.
and you got to stop. And it kind of sucks.
Well, that's the tragedy of being an athlete, right? Your body betrays you at some point, and we get older, and whether it's just the age factor or injury factor. Mm-hmm. And you spoke about the stress of your final NHL years. And listen, I went through a friggin' miserable time in transitioning. I struggled, but you spoke about how it physically manifested in that you had unexplained swelling in retirement. How did you navigate that and transition, you know, through that difficult period? How did you navigate?
Well, it was probably my last year when it really started. I started kind of walking before I went to bed, and all of a sudden I felt swelling the bottom of my foot. And then I would go to sleep and I wake up, my whole face is like this. It was like, whoa. I'm like, what did I eat? Did I eat something bad or whatever?
Allergic to something?
Yeah. So then, but I would then go to sleep the next day and all of a sudden this would be fine. And this side would be swollen up. Like my lip would get like absolutely huge. And I was just like, what's going on? I felt like, what's that? I can't remember what movie it is, but all of a sudden he'd start because he would do something.
Elephant Man?
I don't know. There's some movie. I can't remember what it was called, but anyways, but it got to a point where I was getting tested. I was getting all this. And obviously after I retired, it went away, and it was basically stress. Like what we do is so stressful. Like you're handling this puck. You got your whole entire, not only the people in the stands, but people watching on TV, and you got to make split decisions to go and pass it. If you pass it to the wrong way, you screw up. You're like, oh my God. And it's crazy, but obviously you get paid enough to go and actually do this too. So obviously I'm not complaining, but there's a lot of stress and a lot of, I feel bad for some of the guys that, you know, kind of put it off, that they're not even using the summertime to go and look for job opportunities for post-career. Everybody should be going and doing that. Everybody should be focusing on, sure, prepare for the season, but prepare for post-career as well. Yeah.
You know, and it's funny, we talk about smaller players. And when I moved back here in 2011, you were with the Panthers. And that first year I went to a few games, and I went with a buddy of mine who had tickets right in the blue line. Mm-hmm. And the Habs were playing Florida and face off in the offensive zone. And you were right in front of us. And I'm thinking, I said to my buddy, I said, fuck this D-man. He's fucking, because I hadn't been following the league a whole lot at that time. I said, this Weaver, he's not that big a guy. Jeez. And then I looked at your stick. Your fucking stick could have reached over to the bench. It was so long. Like you had Chara's stick. But, you know, and again, we talk about smaller players playing the game. And in that era, it was even crazier to see a defenseman that small. Mm-hmm. But how did you compensate for all that? Look at a guy like Hudson now in Montreal, right? Everybody had him. Oh, he's offensive. He's not going to be able to play defense. And I think he's like plus 12 on the team now as far as he and again, plus minus, but he's really proved himself defensively using his head, not so much what he has for physical strength, his hockey sense, and using his head defensively. How did you compensate for that? I mean, you know, you're not the tallest, but you're a good-sized kid. You can handle yourself. How do you compensate for that?
Well, it would have been I'm going to say in 2003, I think it was. TSN ended up doing an all-short team.
Fuckers.
and it was St. Louis was one of the wingers, and I
Shit.
was one of the D. And I've been trying to find this article, but I would love to find it at some point. It's actually pretty. It was awesome. Like at one point, I was just like, why would they go and write something like that? But then after thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, for sure. Like everybody, they kept on putting me at 5'10", 5'11". I'm like, come on. I'm like, put me at 5'9".
You're 5'9", right? You're 5'9".
I was 5'9". I was just under 5'9". So it's, I was just like, go and show my real height, because it really, I basically was an anomaly. Basically, it's something that was very rare that happened. And I when I was inducted to the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame, it was one of those things that like my whole entire career, everybody would say, oh, you played great, and I'm like, no, I could have played better, and I really thought that I could play better. And it's funny, I never cried my whole entire life up to the point when I was inducted to the Brampton Sports Hall of Fame. I was up on stage and they're showing the kind of a recap of me playing. And I was the first time I actually teared up. I was like really teared up. Yeah, it was
real men cry.
Yeah, no, and I've cried ever since. So
you opened the floodgates.
Yeah. But it was something that I was just like, kind of, I acknowledged that I was actually good enough. And that's kind of what propelled me, I think. I always proved, everybody said, I was too short to do this. And I ended up, I remember I wrote a article, the Tales of the, it was for the Players Tribune. It's Tales of the Undrafted Puck Eater. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, so I remember going in I went to both my draft years in the NHL, and the second year, my last year, I ended up.
So you were at the draft. You went to the draft. Oh,
Yep.
Were you fucking bummed out or what when you left both of them?
Well, it was funny. My dad wanted to leave. There was like something like 5 people left, right? And I ended up kind of walking up the stairs, and I paused. I looked back. And I waited for the other ones to get drafted, and it wasn't me. And I kind of turned. It was something that actually closed the door on that part of it, that way of getting there. And my dad looks at me, he's just like, "Well, find another way." And that's kind of been my career.
Awesome. Find another way.
Yeah, and it was my career. I ended up going in when somebody. It happened twice. It's funny, when Michigan State was recruiting me, they ended up coming for another guy on the team, but they ended up seeing me. It happened like twice in my career that these people were coming for another person, and then they ended up finding me. And it's all about, I always like to say, when preparation meets opportunity, that's when you got to go and play at your best. And you, especially with youth hockey and even pro hockey, you actually have to be like 99%. You got to play your best at all times, because you never know who's going to be there. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. It doesn't matter. But it's something that, and I think I ended up, and like I said, that my hockey school really helped me out, because I was able to figure out what I was doing. And it was basically influencing the ice, understanding that where you are, people come to, right? So if you ended up going and bringing the puck one direction, right, you might open up space in another area. And that's what I teach at Defense First. I teach how to go and influence the play, how to go, and your approach to that player makes a big difference. So I don't teach angling, I teach influence. I teach I don't read and react to what an opposition player is doing. I initiate and dictate by my positioning and my approach to that player.
Okay, yeah.
And that really does change the game. That takes back the control in the game, rather than figuring out where's that guy going to go. The game of hockey is just too fast. So if we're able to go and actually look, and maybe everybody listening to this, next time you're watching the game, okay, go and not look where that one player that has the puck. Look at the other 4 players on his team, not only where they are, but where what their options are, because based on that, you're able to basically figure out what the future holds, because the odds of that one guy going through the whole entire team, no. But if you're able to kind of look around, you're able to see. And if Ovechkin would have did that one-timer the last game, I would have had that. That was my job, is to go.
You would have ate that one.
Ovi's hits. Ovi's one tease.
Yeah, that's fun. Fuck, I hated blocking shots.
Oh, that's one of the biggest things I miss.
Oh.
I miss the bruises. I miss I miss all the little things, like I remember getting a slap shot to the mouth. I could stick my tongue out through here. I got a twig, the exact same one.
Nice.
And I remember going. It was I was with LA. I was playing. We're playing Chicago. We're in Chicago. I remember getting a slap shot to the mouth again. I go into the dressing room, and the equipment manager is just like, the trainer's just like, all right, take your stuff off. I'm like, no, I'm going back out. He's like, what? He's like, no. I'm like, I'm going back out. He's like, I'll only let you out if we get an X-ray on your jaw. So I ended up going in there, getting an X-ray on my jaw. Everything's fine. So I put a mask on, went back out there, and everybody looked at me. They're like, oh, you're nuts. But I'm like, that is the stuff I miss. I miss all that. I miss the guys in the dressing room, and that's why I love the NHL alumni.
What is that? Now, what is that? Let's think about hockey players. I want to go back to what your dad said to you at some point, but what is that about hockey players? Is that, come on, we every year we see it in the playoffs. This guy played hurt. This guy played this. This guy had this. This guy had that. What is it? Is that the pressure of teammates getting ready to rip you a new asshole if you bail on them? What is that in a hockey player? Because we see soccer, they fall down. Basketball, they get fouled, they're low. What is that with hockey players?
I think it's just a love for the game and a love to go and actually. I find that hockey teams come together very fast, a lot faster than other sports, because it's such a physical sports with fights, sticks, slashing, hits, that blood, sweat, and tears. Everything comes together so much faster than any other sport, I'm gonna say. It's just that feeling of just getting back, and I remember sitting there after playoff games and sitting there
taping guts.
Yeah,
right?
everybody was just like all beat up and everything, but we all had a smile on our face, and
right.
That's like the stuff was just like, I don't think any fan will understand the love of that moment in the game of coming back. I remember we beat Boston in Game 7 in Boston.
Well, I'm going to get there. You're taking all my questions away, you bastard.
Yeah.
You're getting ahead of me. But that's good. It was just like, that's okay.
Just that feeling of this, like, you can't replace it. Skating out in playoffs, skating out and into Montreal. That's the best team that there's really cool places I play, but Montreal, skating out there in playoffs.
You're already answering all my questions.
Oh my God. It's so good. Yeah.
So let me go back to your dad.
Okay.
And saying we'll find another way. Yeah, because it's funny how these, at certain points in our lives, there's the split in the road and you go one way or the other. And I remember in high school, freshman year, I was playing freshman team. I never played. I sat in the fucking bench all the time. Guy never played me. And I remember one of the last games of the year, my father bumped the coach and bumped into him and, said, why can't my kid play? Blah, blah, blah. I was like embarrassed as shit. I got in the car with my father and I said, I think I'm going to quit. I'm not, this isn't fun sitting on the fucking bench all the time. He said, well, listen, that's fine. You want to quit? You can go ahead and quit. He said, but I guarantee you quit, you'll not only remember it for the rest of your life, it will haunt you. It will haunt you. And I'm like, he said, now you can quit. Go ahead and quit. Or you can get your ass to work and push through this. do extra things. Work on your shot, work on your. Tell me all these things to do. Get in the gym, and he said, and if you love the game that much, you'll do it. And if you don't want to push through that, you want to feel sorry for yourself and quit, then go right ahead. And that was a turning point for me. And I don't know, for you with your dad, to have your dad, say that we'll find another way. Like, it just made me think of my dad and what he said to me, and it was a turning point for me,
Yeah. And being open to listening to other people, right? I know you get to a point where you think you know everything, especially kids. Right. You think you know everything, but being open to other people's opinions and everything like that, I think really, and obviously your parents really influence kind of everything that you do. But I'm going to say that there's a lot of wanters, right? Yeah. How many times has somebody said, "Oh, I could have played in the NHL, but did you play in the NHL?
I hurt my knee."
Yeah, but it's always the but, right? Yeah. But at the end of the day, they didn't, right? Yeah. And that's one of the things that there's always, but I had a girlfriend. I'm like, well, it doesn't, like, it's just, hey, you didn't. So, and that's one thing that, I think it's pretty amazing. I think there's only 8,000 of us out there.
It's crazy.
Right? Like it's pretty unbelievable. And I'm so amazing to be kind of, with guys like yourself and
being one of those 8,000. It's incredible.
So good. Like, I just got chills right now. It's just like so amazing.
Like, I've had guys on there like Tim Stapleton, who used to do this podcast. Tim played 100 games in the NHL, right? It's like, and he said, like, he downplayed it. I don't care if you play one game, just to get there for one game. It's like incredible. Just, you've accomplished something that not many people get a sniff at who play the game.
Yeah. It's funny. So it's funny. I'm single now.
Yeah. Okay.
So announce it to the world.
Is that funny? All right. Yeah. Weaves open for business.
But it's so funny though. I don't like on all, like, there's all these apps now. It's just crazy. I'm like, I don't actually have my picture. I have one of them. I have my picture of the Canadiens, but I don't really like to go and lead with that at all because I'm not cocky about it at all. I love that I played and everything like that. And it usually comes into what was your job and whatnot. But that's one of the things
it's gonna come up.
But it's something that I think hockey players kind of come from the same. Like, that's one of the things. I didn't have a lot of friends when I moved back to Toronto because all my friends upped and left, and with each team that you play for, that is your like frat, right? That's your fraternity. Yeah. But then you go to another team and you leave that fraternity. This is your fraternity. You might talk once in a while to the guys, but for the most part, I have all these people all over the world that are my boys, but like, you don't really call them a whole lot, right? It's just kind of,
you don't talk to them all that, but when you see them,
it's the best feeling.
Yeah, right. It's like it comes right back. Everything,
So I was trying to find something in Toronto, like a game, and I finally talked to Lindros, Eric.
Yeah.
So I'm in there with a couple of the guys, so it's kind of cool. Like, it's just like all the guys that you might not have played with them, but you have that background of whether you played university, Canadian university or U.S. university, whatever. It's the same kind of mentality, the same like camaraderie.
I just got I was in 2 weeks ago. I was in Newfoundland and New Brunswick, and it was an all-star team of alumni players. And Rick Vive was there, Duguay, Brian Strudland, just a bunch of guys. And Screwy, who I played with, won the cup together. Mm-hmm. Like, I mean, we're friends, all right? We're teammates. But when I see him, it is like, it's like I see him every day. It's like I haven't seen him in months, but it's boom, we pick up, hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. It is so, for me, it's comforting, and it brings you back to that time that, because we had such a close knit team. And when you had a team like that, especially in my era, we stayed together a little more, right? As a team, because there was no free agency. So had years of going to Christmas parties, Halloween parties, going on the road together, being together. It was so much more like family. So that's huge. And when that's taken away, obviously, not a lot of fun. Weaves, your time, I look at, the teams you play with, obviously, but L.A., Atlanta, Van a little bit, St. Louis a little bit, but the longest stretch being Florida. How was your experience down there? And did you finally feel, because you were there 4 years, did you finally feel like, man, I got a home now? I'm locked in somewhere. Did you get that?
Yeah, for sure. Well, it was pretty cool. Barkov was a rookie when I was first there too.
Right.
What an amazing person! Like, he held himself even back then, being a rookie. Like, he's just awesome. Well, that when the new management came in, right, the new ownership came in, right, it was kind of military like, which is good, right? They had to clean up stuff. They had to go and make it right, a little bit more structured.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. But yeah, I lived in Delray Beach. Our house was pretty cool. You go to the rink, do a practice, and then come and with your shorts and play street hockey with your kids. So that was pretty cool. It was a really good feeling. I lived a little bit further away from the practice rink. It was about a half hour away. So everybody lived over by Parkland over that way, but I like to be a little bit further away. I like to get away from the game too. But yeah, that was a pretty magical place. I'm going to say Florida.
So Florida, though, when we think of Florida, and you play in hockey hotbeds, you grow up in a cold environment. How was that like playing in that environment, though? Right, like, where you go to the rink in shorts, and after practice you can go play maybe 18 holes if you want. Was that a hard adjustment, or did you find it different at all?
I loved it. Being able to go to the beach, hang out at the beach, and it was pretty surreal a little bit. Like, I went to, my parents brought me to Disney World 13 times before I was 10 years old. So I remember going to see Mickey Mouse. Like, I was like an hour away from Mickey Mouse. So right. It was kind of cool. I thought that was, it was easy for me to transition myself. I was very, like, I was pretty structured myself when it came to the hockey. So obviously there's a time to have fun and a time to be serious. So I made sure that I made the most of my days there in Florida for sure. But it was a really cool feeling though when I ended up getting traded to Montreal.
Well, I was going to ask you that. So after your 4 years there, during the fourth year, the trade deadline, you end up going to Montreal. You played 17 games there, and you end up certainly going on what was an electric
that was crazy
playoff season. Listen, Montreal was always right. They were always in the playoffs. They were never out of them. And then things change. The league expands, and now it's getting more difficult to get in the playoffs. And that year was an incredible run. To be part of that, certainly your best year as far as playoffs. Yeah. And how cool was that? How cool was it coming to Montreal and pulling that jersey on for the first time?
It was amazing, honestly. Like, from skating on the ice, I remember my first time skating on the ice for coming in with the Montreal Canadiens. Oh, Well, my first game ever was the Thrashers versus the Canadiens.
Okay.
So my dad ended up making it down there, and he had the section. He had the section going and cheering for me when I was on the ice, and then cheering for the Canadiens when I was off the ice. Yeah, so he was always big. In 4 years at Michigan State, there was 30 games a year. He missed 4 games, and Alaska Fairbanks was in our division as well. So it's pretty crazy. Yeah. So he was at all my games. He never watched the third period though, ever. He would get so nervous that he would go outside or start walking, pacing. So he never watched the third period. So, but yeah.
Well, the Habs in 2014, they reached the Eastern Conference Finals, right? Your deepest playoff run.
Yeah.
What stands out about that postseason for you? Whether it's a specific game, someone's performance that you play with, or the atmosphere at the Bell Center, just everything.
You cannot replace the atmosphere of the Bell Center. It's. I go to the Toronto Maple Leaf games. Oh my God, it's like business attire, and hardly people in the seats. Like Montreal is just amazing, and I love making it back there at least once or twice a year. It's so amazing. But yeah, just the the whole feeling of that playoff run was just amazing. Like at one point they even made. I went to a bar after the game, and one of the girls there ended up going and making a Weaver T-shirt.
Yeah.
And she ended up going and cutting off the letters, and then she ironed it on, and she did Weaver. So I ended up going there, and I ended up going and taking a photo and put it online. I'm like, "Where's my T-shirt?" And then within the
she
next
had one made.
Well, the next, that was like 2 days later, they ended up going and getting one made, getting them all made, and then they ended up presenting it to her at the bar. But that's the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah,
they're so classy in everything they do. They made sure that my experience coming in, like when we had a day off or 2 days off between this, they would fly me back to Florida. So it was pretty amazing. They flew my family into, like, it was first class. Montreal Canadiens. It was just pretty crazy. I remember, oh my God, I'm just forgetting his name. I got traded, and he got traded first, and then the day later, Ford, winger from Buffalo. Oh my God,
he got traded to Montreal from Buffalo.
Yeah. Oh my God. Anyways,
we'll think of him.
Yeah. So, anyways, I remember us going.
Daniel Bria? No, he was Philly. Sorry.
Anyways,
Vanek? Thomas Vanek.
Vanek. Yeah, Vanek. Yeah. Oh my God, I can't remember. So, anyway, we're at Le Cristal, right? We're staying there. So we're just like, okay, the first day, like we didn't know about the fans, so we're just like, let's just take the car over. So we drove over there, and there's that left turn that you're not supposed to take a left turn.
Yeah.
So we're just like, okay, if we don't take a left turn right now, we're going to be in so much traffic. We'll be late for the game. So we decided to take a left turn. We got pulled over by the cops.
And they gave you they put the lights on and gave you a
ride in. They gave us a ticket.
They did.
They gave us a ticket. We're just like, we're just going to the Bell Center. We're players, and the guy gave us a ticket. Oh. So after the game, I ended up going and bringing it up to all the media. So, anyways, I guess he got teased the next couple of weeks.
Good.
But it was just, oh my God, it's so what a magical place when playoffs happen there. It's
it's unbelievable. Like when I came back here, and we're in a playoff drought, and we have been for a long time now. But when the playoffs come here, you see so many cars riding around with a flag out.
No.
You know, them window flags they have, they close the window and the flag is, they got Habs fans everywhere. There is a feeling that takes over in the city that you can't help but get swept up in it. It's like, It's awesome. And the Bruins, when it's the Bruins, forget about it. And you experienced that year, right?
Well, the one thing is when you go to different places, it's crazy the amount of Montreal Canadiens fans that are in the stands. It's
Yeah.
insane. Like you cannot
Especially in Canada, right? It's crazy in Canada.
yeah, you can't replace any fans with Montreal. Like it's what the history of the Canadiens, and it's I'm in Toronto, so basically
Yeah.
I call Leaf fans next year fans. They'll be good next year. Right?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Funny, I just got back. I was in Liverpool and saw Liverpool and Everton play. Now Liverpool has great tradition and history there too, and the honestly, the fan base and everything it reminded me of the Canadians fan base. The same type of the tradition, the history, the lore, all of that was there. It was really cool to be a part of that and take part in that. So that year, you played for Mike Terrian. How did you like playing for Mike? I heard things about he could be a real prick to guys, and he was very cut and dry. Here's the way it is. How was he?
So it's funny when he was the coach with Pittsburgh Penguins.
Yeah.
So I ended up going
When
there.
he scummed out all the D-men.
Oh yeah. Well, I went there. I was there for training camp, and I signed with them. I was my wife at the time was pregnant, so it was either taking a 4-hour drive to Pittsburgh or a 4-hour flight to Vancouver. So I had two choices. So I ended up saying, okay, I'll go and I'm just going to go and drive to Pittsburgh. So I show up with my trailer and everything, and so I went. Oh, it was awesome playing Monkey in the Middle with Sid and Colby Armstrong. It was cool. And I remember that I was one of the last cuts, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, Weave, you made it for sure."
Right.
I was like Yannick Lahu, right? Like they had me. He was a rookie that year. They had me going and taking him to go get his cell phone. So I'm assuming that
you're going to be around.
You're going to be around, right? Yeah. So, anyways, I go into the room, and he's sitting there with is it Nonis, the GM there? But it was, but anyways, it was, so he was there, and he ended up saying, "Oh, we were going to go and put you on waivers." So yeah, so anyways, they wanted to keep their other guy there. So I'm like, all right, fine, thank you so much. And then all of a sudden, I got put on waivers, and Vancouver picked me up. So I drive home, and within a day, I go and fly out to Vancouver, and then but. Obviously, when I got traded to Florida, it was pretty surreal. My Instagram went.
You went Vancouver. You went to St. Louis, right? Before Florida, right?
Well, that year I ended up going to Vancouver. So that year.
Okay. Yeah.
That year I went to Vancouver. So I assisted on Trevor Linden's last goal he ever scored. So it was kind of cool. But I remember. Now going, so obviously I got when I got traded from Florida to the Canadiens, my Twitter ended up going from 2,000 to like 25,000 in a span of like 5 minutes. Right? It was kind of cool. It was, and then all of a sudden the first one was Bergevin. He's just like, "Hey, Mike, I've been wanting to get you the last couple of years, And then the second call was Terrian. I'm like, "Oh, last time we were talking, you were putting me on waivers."
Yeah, Mike, thanks.
But then within a month, he was calling me Le Dream Weaver, right? He was calling me Dream.
Okay.
But it was kind of funny. But it's funny. We're in playoffs, and he ended up. So we had all the brass that were sitting on the bus. We ended up losing, so everybody's quiet, right? Everybody's sitting there quiet. and all the brass. I think Jeff Molson was on the bus too, and everything. So everybody's quiet. Bus is quiet. Everything. He comes on, throws his suitcase on, well, his bag on there, and he goes out and has a smoke. The whole thing. Like, he was probably out there for another 10 minutes. So we have like everybody just sitting there waiting for him to finish his smoke. It's so funny. Didn't have a care in the world.
What, like, how would you describe his coaching style, Mike?
Yeah, like how about this? I'm a chameleon. I could go and adhere
Adjust.
to anybody's coaching style. Like,
Yeah.
if everybody was like all worried about the media. I didn't care about the media really. I was just like I didn't give generic answers. I gave.
Well, that was the thing when Bergie was here, right? He hated the media, that it was so adversarial, right?
Yeah.
It was, and for this town, that's not a good thing. You know, you gotta almost find the organization kind of has to find a way to, you know, have some respect there both ways.
Yeah,
right?
no, for sure. Well, getting back to Therrien, like I found, he's old school, right?
Yeah,
So he's old school. He was something that doesn't work today's world,
yeah, right.
right? It's something that I'm gonna say one guy that I absolutely love is John Cooper. He was a lawyer at Michigan State.
Yeah.
Okay, we used to go and play against him every year. The Lawyers versus Michigan State Spartan hockey team.
Yeah.
Broom ball hockey game. So I know him very well, but
Super duper Johnny Cooper.
he's such an
I
amazing.
had him on here. Honest to God, I liked him before I met him.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he was on here, we got an opportunity to speak. I just was so impressed by what the guy did. Incredible.
But he goes and earns the respect of the players, right? And
Yeah.
and the old school way, there's some organizations you kind of need that a little bit just to kind of bring in a little bit more temperature. But I'm gonna say for the most part now, the new age kids, you got to go and allow them to kind of buy in, right? And I think that's one thing that St. Louis is doing with the Canadiens.
Right.
He's more into allowing them to make mistakes, and that's what you saw at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
And you can see a little bit more structure kind of coming in there, and I think it's the structures happening naturally. You're able to go and play within a structure, and I really love. I'm excited. Obviously, you are too, right? To be a part of. Like think about this. Like they go and make the playoffs, and right now, they're possibly Washington. Like with Washington worrying about OV, right? And there might be an opportunity to make it by that.
Listen, the first round's the best round.
Yeah.
The first round is the best round because you can see that upset, and then teams settle in that second round. They get that first round. There's so much pressure, right?
Yeah, and it's something that I think St. Louis is doing amazing, and that's what you need. You need a coach. Obviously, I think you need a half decent goalie, right? You need a good leader, a half decent goalie, but that coach is the one that instills kind of the, what is expected. And with Therrien, he would go in there like friggin'. I don't even know half the words he said, but he would go in there and he would say all this stuff, and then the assistant coach's job or to go and pick up the pieces and be like, "All right, guys, this is what he was meaning here," and blah blah blah, and then they have separate meetings to go and calm everybody down.
He really didn't mean you guys suck. He just meant like you got to work harder.
Yes,
but
I know.
The Martin St. Louis thing, I'll tell you. And in a rebuild, certainly different, and you got to take. But every player I've had on here had nothing but glowing things to say about the breath of fresh air he was and how different a coach he was with them. I saw during the past few years here, and especially this year at the beginning, I saw a team that some games they just quit, right? I forget the game. They ended up losing like 9-2 or something, but it was a 3-2 game. They scored like 6 goals in the third period. They ended up just quitting. And he talked after the game, and he was very. He said he wasn't mad. He was disappointed, right? And just different words, right? He wasn't pissed off. He was disappointed in them. He wasn't mad at them. He was disappointed, which I think certainly makes a difference when you're a player. God, yeah, he's disappointed. Now it's on me. He's mad at me. Okay, he's mad. Coaches get mad, but there were times, and that was one time, but there was quite a few times. I mean, the beginning of the season here, they were in November, beginning of December, they were horrendous. They could not keep the puck out of the net. They couldn't play defense in their end. They were running around like crazy. And there were times I'm there, when is this coach gonna, the carrot's the carrot, but when is he gonna take out the stick? And he never did. He never once did. And I mean, geez, maybe like try it one time. Boot them in the ass, would you? I wasn't the only one calling for it. And I wasn't screaming and yelling about it like all the time. But I'm there, what? God. But he stuck with his coaching philosophy.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see right now it come to fruition. It's incredible what he's done, honestly. I'm going to say, Lane Hudson coming on the scene when he did has a whole lot to do with it. When you have a guy like that who can control the game like he does, he controls the game, that kid. When he has the puck, he controls it. But their biggest weakness was defensively, this team. And they couldn't get it. And now they have it. And I watch them in their own end of the ring. And I remember in our day, we played zone defense,
right?
Which you could. Today it's a little different. Some teams play zone still, some play man on man. The Habs had a hybrid system beginning of the year where down low, if you were down low playing, you'd stay man on man. And they wouldn't have defensemen come up over the top of the circles. Now, this was such a no-no when I played, right? A defenseman following his man from the corner up to the blue line. Like, that was unheard of when we played. Just never. I remember Lemaire, you should never go past the top of the circle, blah, blah, blah. Now we see D-men up top, and I'm like, how the hell? But it's working for them.
Yeah, it's...
What do you think about that? D-men following a forward all the way out to the blue line.
I'm all about doing something. I always like doing different things, and it's something that I love. I love the way St. Louis actually structures it, and it's. I was talking to Mike Benelli he's with USA Hockey and everything, and he was actually working with St. Louis. He ended up having so everybody on this podcast. I have a coaching platform I developed while I was still playing. I ended up finding it very tedious to go draw drills, and the practice drills. So I was able to. I put together a team to go and draw it digitally. So basically, drawing your drill one time, and that's it. It's one time, the last time you'll ever have to draw your one drill. So he was Mike Benelli was creating and helping St. Louis create these practice plans. And one thing that he did say to Benelli that he loved how structured it was, and it's something that he started working with them. And St. Louis, obviously he's evolved his whole entire coaching. Like, that's one thing is a lot of NHL players, they just go and jump right up to the NHL. Some of them, right? Some of them go youth hockey. I think you have to go youth hockey in order to go and learn how to go and deal with youth, in order to go and I'm going to say a lot of the you don't necessarily have to be an NHL player to have a background in it. Some of the best coaches, like Andy Murray, he was just a brilliant mind that basically just got the game. But I'm going to say St. Louis, what he's done, whatever he's doing right now, I think is awesome. But it goes that the Suzuki has to go and the captain has to go and buy into it, right? Having the Caulfields, which was just amazing last year with him too, and obviously having Hudson in there too.
Yeah,
it's pretty crazy. What has happened the last.
It's awesome. It's awesome to watch.
Do you think the Four Nations Cup, from actually it being in Montreal, do you think it actually seeing that? I'm assuming
influence them or give them a little. Yeah, that and maybe Caulfield and Suzuki getting snubbed.
Yeah,
helped. For sure. That could be part of it. But I think his whole game plan certainly coming to fruition now, and hopefully we see them get in the playoffs here and not just get in, but do something in the playoffs. Maybe, get through that first round. Who knows? And I'm just want to see that atmosphere here again in Montreal. So you retired, you end up co-founding Coach Them, virtual coaching tool. Obviously, your inspiration for that. You always thought the game. You probably think differently than some guys out there for sure. Coach Them serves everyone from minor hockey coaches, NHL, all the way up. What for you through all of this with Coach Them has been, I guess, the most rewarding feedback you've got from this platform, from people who use the platform?
I get it. Like we had 15 NHL teams using it. Would have been last year. We work with the NHL Coaches Association, so we do all their drills. So, we're going to be starting doing them right now. So we have all the NHL teams submit all their drills, and we go and redo them on our platform. And if you attend the NHL Coaches Association meeting, which is pretty cool, it's in Toronto this year. It's actually really cool. You're able to be with all current NHL coaches and alumni coaches as well. It's really cool in person. But we work with the NHLCA, and you get all these drills for them. So we find out every year how many teams are using Coach Them. It's kind of cool, but I love.
So how many teams are in the NHL? All of them?
No, we have 15 teams using
15.
Coach Them. Just 15. Yeah. So
Okay.
but we have a lot of universities. We have 200 plus associations. We have 10,000 active subscribers. So we are doing, and then we have lacrosse, and now we have soccer. So we don't.
So on Coach Them, it costs to subscribe. What if an NHL team uses it? Do they just have to pay that fee to subscribe, and that's it?
Yeah. That's
you get
it.
on, and you get access to all these drills and everything.
We got 4,000 drills for hockey. So 4,000 drills with video. It's pretty cool. Like we have a very good following.
Really cool.
Yeah. You know what? I love it. I love with my hockey school. I absolutely love teaching kids. I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I go and teach a couple of kids. And then after they're done, they go to school, which is kind of cool.
You've had that now 20 years. You're
25, I think it is now.
25. Defense First Hockey School. And that's where around Toronto? Where?
It's in Scotiabank Pond, which is at Downsview Park. So it's really cool that I'm able to go and teach the kids. I'm able to go and teach them kind of the thinking part of the game, how to go and actually figure out where you're supposed to be on the ice. And then from there, being able to go and teach the coaches that teach the kids with Coach Them is actually really cool as well, because now I'm able to go and reach all the coaches in all of the world to go and actually give them assets to go and create their organized practices a lot better and easier. So it's pretty cool what has happened. I've kind of taken my career and I've figured out better ways of doing things, and now I'm able to communicate it with everyone.
So on Coach Them, say a coach wants power play drills. You got a ton of them. Say I want my team to play better defensive hockey. You got drills around that. You can tailor them to everything.
Yeah,
Penalty kill, stuff like that. Yeah,
penalty kill, everything.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we have all the stuff. Like the idea is to go and make a balanced practice, especially with youth hockey. We have lots of small area games, which I think there should be at least throwing some fun into every practice. I just hate it going to the rinks. I just see parents telling the ref to F off. I hate what is happening with youth hockey, because I think at the end of the day, it's the kids on the ice that are creating these magical moments, not the parents in the stands. And it's something that I always ask the parents, like if there's a parent yelling at the ref and telling them to F off, I'm like, so is your kid professional? And they're like, no. So is the ref professional? They're like, no. So I'm like, why are you going and yelling at this ref? The ref have to make. It's not like they're an NHL ref that gets, I don't know.
It's like they're kids. A lot of times they're kids, right? They're young kids.
It's just crazy. So these parents got to go and stop all that. I think it's just let your kids be kids. Let them. There's only 8,000 NHL players. Yeah, former players out there. And at the end of the day, the odds are these kids are not going to go and play. But the game of hockey is so special. It teaches you so many amazing things. Like you got, if you think about it, you have two teams, 5 on each team, right? You have 5 guys that you have your coach on the bench. That's kind of your boss that goes and instructs what to do. So you have 5 guys from different backgrounds, right? Doesn't matter where you're from, right? Different languages, whatever, right? You have to go and take what that coach is, what that boss is saying and implement it in the game. And you're trying to go and take this little rubber thing, all right, that we're trying to put it by this player, this person that has pillows, we call pads, into this mesh, all right? And we're just like, what does it teach you? It teaches you how to work together with other people from different backgrounds. It goes and teaches you how to go and work together to go with that goal. And it teaches you success. It teaches you failure. It teaches you if you don't work hard enough, you're going to get cut, just like in the real world. Yeah. Everything transitions to the real world, because if you're not working hard in your job, right, you're going to get passed on.
And results.
Yeah, and I hate participant medals. Like, stop with these participant medals. Like, at the end of the day, no, it's not celebrating. Yeah, it's not celebrating that. It's all about if you're not working hard, someone's going to pass you. And that's one thing that I've always done with my career. I always looked at there's somebody better. And if you're able to go and actually do that, you're going to strive to being the best that you can be, and you're going to evolve it.
For sure. That's awesome. So the school, lastly with the school, like obviously defense first. Does that scare some kids away? Because, you got to think all these offensive defensemen today who like everyone wants to be that Hughes or Lane Hudson or McCaw. Like, does that scare anybody away?
I love her name, but it does hurt us sometimes. Everybody thinks it's completely defense. Unless you're Ovechkin for forwards, you got to be able to play both ends of the ice. So we have a lot of everything. We teach, not only we teach offensive, being able to walk the blue line, being able to play a 2-on-1, 1-on-1. We have a lot of forwards that actually do this. A lot of these techniques could be going and applying to every situation. So influencing the puck, being able to the direction that you go and take, a forward is going to want to go away from it, right? Yeah. So an opposition player. So based on if I go this way, a forward's going to opposition player will want to go this way. So if we're able to go and approach a player where we don't want him to go and herd that player to where we want to go, that is where the game changes, and that's where you take control in the game.
Yeah, that's cool. I saw it. It's funny. I was watching a game was it yesterday? And I think it was Eklund got caught. It was a Florida game. And he was a half step behind the forward, and the forward had all the speed going outside. And instead to keep on that path, as the kid wanted to come to the net, he took the angle toward the post. Mm-hmm. And the kid, he would have never caught him from behind, or he would have taken a penalty. But when he changed his angle, he cut him off at the pass there, and he couldn't get to the net. It was just the color man pointed it out, what a good play it was. It was so subtle to the average person watching the game. They maybe not realize that, but he pointed it out, and it's so true. The way he took that angle just shut the play right down. So it was pretty cool. And we're talking about it.
One of the best, one of the luckiest things that I ever got. Well, one of the best things that ever happened to me was playing for the Montreal Canadiens. Playing playing in front of fans that actually understood the game rather than always looking at the guy scoring the goal, right?
Yeah.
I got so much feedback of me blocking shots. People say this to
people love that. They see it.
Yeah, for sure, because there's got to be a little bit of everything, and it's funny. Okay, so I was going to say this story too.
Go ahead.
So when I ended up getting traded, I ended up starting getting in there, and that's one of the really cool things that I loved. I wasn't a seventh, eighth defenseman. I actually fought my way into the lineup, and I stayed, and it was something that was pretty awesome. But it's funny, every single time I had like 12 points or something like that, or 6 points. Well, it was I think it was like 8 to 10 points in playoffs. And I'm just like, oh my God, everybody's like celebrating. And like, I would go and block a shot, and they would pop it up, and they would go score. And then all of a sudden the following year, I remember Bergevin at one point, and I didn't have any points at the start. And he's just like, he pulls me aside. He's like, Mike, we need to, you need to get some more points. I'm like, well, why don't you go and tell the players, when I block a shot, go down and score? Because that's what happened last year in the playoffs. So, it's just like, did you do your research on me? Did you see that I passed the puck to the forwards?
I can't believe he said that. Oh, you need more points.
Well, they want their D to be a little bit more offensive. I get the whole part.
It.
But that wasn't my game. I was the goalie's best friend back there.
Of course.
Hey, one other story was kind of funny. So, Pricer. So when we were doing kind of the morning skate, it would just be a quick little skate around, right? You get on the ice quick, and that's it. So one of the first drills was we'd have a forward coming down, and at the red line, dump it in, and the D would go back, and you go pick it up. So the goalie would set it up, and then you would pick it up, and then you would pass it to the winger. All right, that winger would go down to on the other side, go down to the red line and dump it in. So it would just be basically going around. So Price, right, thought it would be funny that he would throw it in my skates. So anyways, it's supposed to be like a calm drill, right? So anyways, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, I hit up. And then the coaches started recognizing, there's like, what's all this commotion down there, right? So anyways, again, he goes and throws in my skates, and he's just like, I'm like, Pricer, stop throwing it in my skates. And he started chuckling, right? So then all of a sudden, Terrian comes over. He's just like, Mike, he's just like, just go pick it up and pass it on. And I'm like, he keeps on throwing it in my skates. So then it turned into be this funny thing that happened all through playoffs, that every single time I would try and get to the other end, all right, and do it there, but he would actually switch to the other side. And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. It was pretty funny. Oh, my God. That was such a good run. Oh.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, listen, Mike, the Habs get in the playoffs here. You're going to have to come down and catch a game.
Well, I got to get a ticket. Do you have any hookups?
I got hookups. Yeah, for sure. Well,
all right.
Let's talk when we cut the recording.
All right.
All right. Listen, hey, awesome to have you. You're a good man. Always enjoy when we go on the road and play some games and stuff. It's good to be around the boys, like we say. And good luck with the school and also coach them and keep it going. You're doing well. I'm happy for you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Knuckles.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Raw Knuckles with Chris Nilan on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.